The one thing we can all agree, all faiths, all ideologies, is that God is with the vulnerable and the poor. God is in the slums, in the cardboard boxes where the poor play house. God is in the silence of a mother who has infected her child with a virus that will end both their lives. God is in the cries heard under the rubble of war. God is in the debris of wasted opportunity and lives. And God is with us if we are with them. This is not about charity in the end, is it? It's about justice. The good news yet to come. I just want to repeat that. This is not about charity, it's about justice. And that's too bad, because we're good at charity. Americans, Irish people are good at charity. We like to give, and we give a lot, even those who can't afford it. But justice is a higher standard. Africa makes a fool of our idea of justice. It makes a farce of our idea of equality. It mocks our pieties, it doubts our concern, and it questions our commitment. 6,500 Africans are still dying every day of a preventable, treatable disease. For lack of drugs we can buy in any drugstore. This is not about charity. This is about justice and equality. Because there's no way we can look at what's happening in Africa and, if we're honest, conclude that deep down we would let it happen anywhere else. If we really accepted that Africans are equal to us. So on we go with the journey of equality. On we go in the pursuit of justice. We hear that call in the One campaign. A growing movement of more than 2 million Americans. 5 million by the next election, I can promise you. United in the belief that where you live should no longer determine whether you live. I was amazed when I first got to this country and I learned how much some churchgoers tithe, up to 10% of the family budget. I mean, I don't know how does that compare with the federal budget, the budget for the entire American family? How much of that goes to the poorest people in the world? Well, it's less than 1% of the federal budget. Now, what is that 1% that we're asking for on the One campaign? It's not merely a number on a balance sheet or pulled out of the air. 1% is the girl in Africa who gets to go to school, thanks to you. 1% is the AIDS patient who gets her medicine, thanks to you. 1% is the African entrepreneur who can start a small family business, thanks to you. 1% is not redecorating presidential palaces. 1% must not be, or don't give it, money down a rat hole. This 1% is digging water holes to provide clean water, like I saw with Bill Frist there in, where was it? Uganda. Okay, that's what we're asking for. "1% is a new partnership with Africa. Not paternalism towards Africa, a new partnership with Africa, where increased assistance flows toward improved governance and initiatives with proven track records and away from the boondoggles and white elephants that we've seen before. America gives less than 1% now. We're asking for an extra 1% to change the world, to transform millions of lives, but not just that. And I say this to the military men now. Not just transform hundreds of thousands, indeed millions of communities, but transform the way they see us, which might be smart in these dangerous times. 1% as national security, 1% as enlightened economic self-interest, and a better, safer world rolled into one. Sounds to me that in this town of deals and compromises, 1% is the best bargain around. Thank you very much.
This is what we Irishmen call the American dream.
A 46-year-old rock star from Ireland stopping at a small kiosk where a woman from Ghana runs her own business, selling shares of call time on cell phones. But Bono likes to stop and point out what works on this continent, largely because he's plunged himself into so much sadness. At another stop, he visits the Ghana Stock Exchange. Not quite the big board, but a big and burgeoning development here, and they are justifiably proud.
And the regional vertical integration is very exciting for us because
he is never greeted as simply a musician. In fact, he's welcomed as something akin to a head of state. He sits with the presidents of the nations he visits because they know it is his interest that is driving a massive global effort and pledges of billions of dollars. He wants this story to be about more than him.
I genuinely see myself as a traveling salesman, and like all salesmen, I'm a bit of an opportunist, and I see Africa as a great opportunity.
Good morning. Bono gave NBC News extraordinary access to his traveling operation, perhaps the largest Africa aid effort ever mounted by any individual. On the flight from Mali to Ghana today, he talked about his love of the place and the people.
My goal, my job is to put myself out of a job so I can be in a rock band in all good conscience and get on with my spoiled, rotten rock star's life and drink a martini.
This effort, he says, is to use and leverage his own name. Whether it's getting the G8 nations to give more money, lobbying President Bush, partnering with evangelical Christians, or getting Americans to care about the 9,000-plus people who die every day in Africa.
Americans deciding that's what America is about. That's why I'm a fan of America. America's not just a country, it's an idea.
Dublin this week to talk to our contestants. We're going to leave you now with all 6 of your finalists singing American Prayer. Watch this.
Very good. Very good. Well, you murdered that, didn't you?
As starstruck as we all were, Bono just immediately set us at ease.
People say you can't be the generation that ends brutal, stupid poverty. But we can, and we will. That's what the One campaign is about. People who you wouldn't normally expect hanging out with each other. You know, hip-hop people and soccer moms, punk rockers and church people and, you know, Irish rock stars on American Idol.
Was there like a defining moment that kind of lit the fire in you?
I went off to Africa to work in an orphanage. And when I was leaving, this man came up to me. He said, "Please take my son, because if he stays here, he will surely die. But if he goes home with you, I know he'll have a good life." And I didn't take him. But I have in other ways. And I don't know what it is about music, but it whispers in your ear that the impossible is much more possible than your parents or your school teachers are telling you. And when you get to the top of the mountain, don't remember me, but remember the people whose lives you are transforming. I've been in front of 70,000 people here in Los Angeles, the Coliseum, and it's a pretty amazing feeling. I can't think of any feeling better, except perhaps the feeling that you can save somebody's life. And there isn't one person watching this program tonight who cannot save a life.
Famine is the real obscenity.
Famine.
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 30,000 children have died in just 3 months.
30,000 children.
In just 3 months.
The worst drought in 60 years.
This is devastating parts of Africa.
And 12 million men,
Women, and children
Are on the brink.
in 2011.
Really?
Are you kidding me?
Now we know how to stop
We know how to stop this.
We know how to
Stop this.
Early warning systems.
food reserves.
Better seeds,
And irrigation.
more peace and security.
Drought
Is an act of nature.
Famine is man-made.
Famine is man-made.
Famine is man-made. Go to one.org.
Let's put a end to famine.
So why aren't we jumping up and down about this? Well, the opportunity is real, but so is the jeopardy. We can't get this done until we really accept that we can get this done. Look at this graph. It's called inertia. It's how we screw it up. And the next one is really beautiful. It's called momentum. And it's how we can bend the arc of history, down towards zero, just doing the things that we know work. So inertia versus momentum, there is jeopardy, and of course the closer you get, it gets harder. We know the obstacles that are in our way right now, in difficult times. In fact, today, in your capital, in difficult times, some who mind the nation's purse want to cut life-saving programs like the Global Fund. But you can do something about that. You can tell politicians that these cuts can't cause lives. Right now, today in Oslo as it happens, oil companies are fighting to keep secret their payments to governments for extracting oil in developing countries. You can do something about that too. You can join the One Campaign and leaders like Mo Ibrahim, the telecom entrepreneur. We're pushing for laws that make sure that at least some of the wealth under the ground ends up in the hands of the people living above it. And right now, we know that the biggest disease of all is not a disease. It's corruption. But there's a vaccine for that too. It's called transparency, open data sets. Something the TED community is really on it. Daylight, you could call it. Transparency. And technology is really turbocharging this. It's getting harder to hide if you're doing bad stuff.
The same people who marched for civil rights in the United States are the same people who protested apartheid in South Africa, who are the same people who work for peace in Ireland, and are the same people who fought against debt slavery in the Jubilee year 2000, who are the same beautiful people that I see when I look around this place tonight in 360 degrees. We are those people. We are the same person. Because our voices were heard, millions more of our brothers and sisters are alive, thanks to the miracle of AIDS drugs and malaria drugs. They will be doctors, they will be nurses, they will be scientists who will live to solve great problems. Yes, there are many obstacles. Of course, there are always roadblocks in the way of justice. But God will put a wind at our back and a rising wind ahead if we work with each other as one.
This is the universe. These are some planets. And this one is the Earth. It's the world on which you live, along with 7 billion other people. But there's a whole other world you don't see. This is the world of extreme poverty. In this world, over 1 billion people live on less than $1.25 a day. This is not right. But there is good news. If we go back to 1990, there were many more people living in a world of extreme poverty. In 1990, over 40% of people lived there. But in just 20 years, the world of extreme poverty has halved. Now here's the incredible bit. If we keep going, then by the time we get to 2030, we could have almost no people living in this world of extreme poverty. This is very good news. But we're not there yet. To get there, we need you, and we really need your voice. Let's bring everyone back to this world. Join one.